everybody. Welcome back to Wrestling Travels Lockdown Sessions, our very first lockdown session in the year 2021. And we are brought to you, each time we do this, we're brought to you by our good friends over in New York City, True Heel Heat Wrestling. Check them out. They've got a great podcast. Actually, they've got a ton of shows. I mean, you can watch them every day, 24/7, I believe, but they're great. Check them out more recently for their New Japan coverage. I know SP3 did that. We're also brought to you by Stu's Wrestling Podcast over there in the United Kingdom. So check out Stu. I know Stu's always, every week, dropping some great guests. But speaking of great guests, we have with us today Real Deal Lexi Steel. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are ya?
Good, Lexi. Now, is it The Real Deal or is it Real Deal Lexi Steel? Because I kind of like the way that one flows.
It's kind of interchangeable, whichever one you want to do. I've got The Real Deal, and then I've got Real Deal Lexi Steel.
But okay, perfect. So we always start at the beginning when I do these. I wanted to talk to you. Can you hear me, or are we breaking up?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I got a little. Sometimes it'll break up, but in the middle when we put this back out, it tends to make sense. So I get worried about it. But we're gonna start at the beginning. Now, how long have you been in this crazy business of professional wrestling?
So I've been in the business about a year and a half. Started right before the COVID pandemic happened, so it's been a wild ride.
Perfect timing, right?
Oh yeah.
So how now? Getting into the business is one thing, but if we go back when did you start watching professional wrestling, or when did young Lexi Steel go, hey, that's something I want to do? Have you watched it from since you were little, or did you get into it recently? Or?
So I started watching it around like 4th grade, I believe. I was a huge wrestling fan. I knew everything that was going on. WWE was a huge thing in my household, and we would all sit down and watch it. I had friends that I would go to their house and stay on the phone with them the entire show, and we would watch that together, and that really is what sparked my interest. Eventually, it kind of fell off there for a little while and then picked back up. Me actually becoming a wrestler myself kind of fell out of nowhere. I hadn't really known how to get into it, didn't know how many promotions were around in my area until my boyfriend actually, he was a huge wrestling fan and kind of re-sparked that interest that I had when I was little, and we actually ended up getting into it together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's been super fun to have somebody so close to me, right there along with me for the ride, and I actually understand what goes on. But it's super like, it's kind of crazy how it all happened, because like I would have never thought, being the little 4-year-old me or 4th grade me, just like looking into the future and seeing myself being in the position, and just how it all came together. It's kind of crazy to me.
So when you go back to 4th grade Lexi Steel, and I know you said you're watching it, you're on the phone with everybody, but is there a particular wrestler that you just kind of like, this is my favorite, like when you're first getting into it? Because I know favorites change, but
yeah, so I in 4th grade, whenever I started wrestling, I loved Maurice. Maurice was my one person I was like, wow, I want to be her. Like the whole like attitude, I was always like infatuated with how she had her attitude going, and how she didn't care about anybody else. She was just like in the moment. I thought that was super cool. I was always a huge fan of Randy Orton, and Edge was another one that I loved.
that was interviewing mistake 101. put your phone on silent. That was my fault. That's terrible. It's a terrible way for me to start out. So my apologies.
Oh no, it's totally fine.
Now, so this is a cool dynamic. So if your boyfriend's going, you guys started training at the exact same time, right?
Yeah, so he actually started a couple weeks ahead of me. He had found a promotion near us and had started going. He was like, hey, like, this is like really cool. And I know you wanted to do this. And like, you were a super big fan when you were little. Like, do you want to come up with me? And that kind of like started the whole thing. And I had just went up to watch, honestly. And the trainer at the time, he was like, hey, why don't you get in the ring, see if you like it? And I took one bump and I fell in love. Like, it was great.
It's so amazing, isn't it? I know we're talking, if people watching it, if you've grown up watching wrestling or been a fan of wrestling, I don't care if it's a low boy, a ratty ass ring, anywhere, when you're able to get inside of that, it's just, I don't know. It's not like a weight off your shoulders, but it's like that.
It's that like I'm on top of the world feeling. Like,
yeah. And you could, like I said, you could be in the rattiest ring in the middle
oh
of
yeah,
getting in, and you're like, okay, this is it. And then if things start going well, if you start to get it and start bumping, you're off to the races, and nothing really slows down that passion. And your path
oh yeah.
to that is very interesting. So and you might have already said it, but so did you guys have a discussion, your boyfriend? And first of all, what is your boyfriend's ring name so we can learn who this is?
Chris Phoenix.
Chris Phoenix. So now
Yes.
did Chris go, did you guys have this discussion, or did he start doing it on his own and then go, hey, why don't you come along? I know you like it. Or did you guys talk about it before and like, hey, we'd both like to get into it?
So we were sitting on the couch one day, and he was talking to me. He was like, I really, really want to start wrestling. And I was like, well, I mean, like, go for it. Like, I'm completely supportive and everything. And he was like, well, if you would want to do it with me, like, that would be super cool. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I've always wanted to. And I was kind of skeptical at first, to be honest. I thought it was like a super cool idea, but I was kind of skeptical. You know, I hadn't known anything about like independent wrestling. I had only really known about like AEW and WWE and all of the bigger promotions. So I was a little skeptical going into like a smaller promotion, not knowing what I was getting into. But whenever we got there and we started training and stuff, it's my life now. I love it.
Awesome. So I know your trainer right now is Lodi.
Yes.
But is that where you guys started or no?
No. So we started at a different promotion that is actually shut down now. Our trainer had some difficulties with COVID. So he decided to shut down the promotion. And it was based out of Lincolnton, North Carolina, a super small town outside of Charlotte. And that's where I got my start and everything. And then we found Lodi and kind of started transitioning over to Lodi and learning so much from Lodi. I can't thank him enough for how much he's taught me. But yeah, it's been bouncing back and forth from a couple different trainers and learning as much as I can from different people.
And you know, and that's what it is. I just can't imagine you guys starting your journey in these crazy times. Like, you know, I just can't imagine what that, I mean, you have roadblocks all the time, just in a normal.
Oh yeah.
You guys had to have, you know, triple the roadblocks.
Yeah. So I had a couple months before COVID hit whenever I was wrestling. I got thrown into it pretty quickly. I was only training for about, I want to say 2 months before I was put in my first show, which is a little nerve-wracking, you could imagine. But being pushed in those shows so early in my career, I feel like pushed me to get better faster and to keep working. So I wasn't going in there unknowing and just not doing well. So it kind of pushed me to get better and train more and get in there. But with COVID, it shut our promotion down for a good 2 months right as I was starting out. So I was obviously like training and stuff, but like I wasn't getting the exposure that I had been getting, and I was a little worried about where that was going to put me, just because everything was shutting down. There was nothing going on. And I mean, it did give me more time to train, which I'm very thankful for. I feel like I came out of it a lot better than when it started. So I feel like it was a blessing in disguise, but it was also it was stressful for me to not know what was going to happen with any of it.
Now, did you have fans for your first match?
Yes and no. So they had introduced me. So people knew of me. They knew who I was, but they had never seen me before. And I would say by the end of the match, I had fans.
Oh, okay.
But before I was kind of new face, didn't know who I was. It was just kind of.
You had fans in attendance, though, I guess is where I was at. So now I'm up in Wisconsin. So we've been able to run shows since June with fans. What is North Carolina, or where have you been having shows with fans, or have you been shut down, or how's it been going?
So I've had some shows that have had fans, and then I've had others that are just live streamed or just videoed and played back on either Facebook or a streaming service. But a good many of them have fans. It's kind of been bouncing back and forth throughout COVID. Just the whole regulations and everything in North Carolina are kind of iffy. So they go back and forth between like fans being there and then just being live streamed. And then some are both. It's just kind of back and forth.
It's so hard. Like, you talk about being nervous and like fans. I mean, still to this day, if you don't get a little nervous behind that curtain before going out, but I just can't imagine. Back in my day, I would go to shows that didn't have fans just because we were terrible. So now at least there's a built-in excuse with COVID. So man, I can't wait for you and and Chris, obviously, both to have shows, where everybody's vaccinated and we've got fans, because that's the coolest thing ever. Even sometimes it's, I can't tell if I like getting cheered or getting booed more.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a toss up. But yeah, I know. I've always had people tell me, like, if you're not nervous or you don't get butterflies right before you go out, then why are you doing it anymore? Like, that's when you should stop. And I can't tell you a time that I've ever went out completely confident in what I was doing and didn't have those butterflies going out. But it's definitely a rush, to say the least.
I was finding it so crazy that you talk a little bit in the locker room, and then you go out and do it, and you're like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna remember X, Y, and Z, and then when you get done and you're like, you know what, it might not have went exactly the way we wanted, but it went.
Yeah,
it went well, and then then you have those times when you're like, I forgot everything, I don't know where I was, and it's just
yeah, but I mean, some of the best matches come from that, so it's honestly just how you make of it. If you start panicking and everything, it's not going to work out as well, but it'll still go.
I was on a benefit show on November 14th, was the last one I did, and there was the young guy next to me at the gimmick table had his match, and he just completely blanked out and comes sitting down so dejected. And I'm like, listen, it only sucks if you didn't, you're not going to take something away and learn from it.
Yeah.
Like we've all been there. Like everybody is, but I know when I've been there, you feel like you're the only one. Like, oh God, everybody's looking at me, how terrible I was. I came back, small story, we'll get back. I came back in 2018 after not wrestling for a while, and did whip the guy from one turnbuckle to the other and was going to follow in with a clothesline, completely tripped, following him in, and with this clothesline in my face, basically went into the guy's waistline. And I was like,
Oh
oh
gosh.
my God, this is terrible. But the fans and the family had finally gotten to see me wrestle, and here I got my face
Yeah.
on the guy's crotch, and nobody caught it except the guys in the back and me. But otherwise, the fans,
Yeah.
oh, it was a great match, and I was going, oh God, I can't even. I want to get out of the ring and into the locker room as quick as possible, and everybody's like, so it's cool the way when your consciousness, you think, okay, I totally messed up and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody's going to sing my praises, I'm going to take it. I guess that's my advice for wrestling.
Oh yeah. Definitely. It's never as bad as you thought it was. Your own brain can do a lot of damage to how bad you actually think it is. But from what I've learned, it's never actually as bad as you think it is in the moment. So just kind of calm it down, think about it. I mean, there's nothing you can do at that point anyway, but learn from it. So
those nights when they come, they suck. But it's like I said, if we don't learn from them. So now training with Lodi, I want to make sure, obviously Chris Phoenix, I want to make sure I got his name out, but what does Lodi's training school, what's it called, so we can make sure he gets a little bit of a push here?
It's Team Fearless. It's in Matthews, North Carolina. It's like right outside of Charlotte. He's got his school up there, and he does personal training and stuff as well. But there are a lot of cool guys up there. Some of my best friends have come from there, and through the wrestling business, I've made amazing friends through it. But yeah, it's Team Fearless, and based out of Matthews.
No, we were saying, now you were on, let's see, if everybody's just watching this now, Lexi was on our podcast that we just did like an hour ago. So you've answered a lot of questions today is what I'm getting at. But the one thing that I found very cool, now I trained in 1997 in Minneapolis, and the one thing that I mean, I'm going to call it a connection with you guys, is you guys training with Lodi. I remember Lenny Lane coming in to our little garage in Minneapolis, and I'm like, there's a dude I've seen on TV, like currently. So in my eyes, I'm like, dude, this big star comes in and goes, why aren't you doing your reverse like this? And I'm going, because nobody's ever showed me that, sir. But I remember Eddie Sharkey asking me, when I first started training after a few months, what surprises you about wrestling? And I said, what I was surprised about was, now here's a current college football player. I go into college and it's hazing 101, I said, I can't believe how nice everybody is. And I want to touch on that because you just said you made some great friends. But people that don't understand our business, like if you're a legitimate training school and stuff like that, it's so supportive, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I've made some of the best friends I've had in my life at training and at shows and everywhere in between. Everybody's so accepting. There's not like the cool crowd, and there's not like the weird outcast people. Like, it's just like we're all a family, and it's a great atmosphere to be in. Like, I cannot stress that enough, how amazing it is to like feel like you have a place, and that's what wrestling does for you.
So positive. And in fact, when you go to shows, and I don't know how many shows you've been to, but when you go to a show and you find somebody that's acting like they're better than everybody else, it's almost such an odd thing. And you're going, okay, I got a question. Where is this person? Where have they trained? Where are they coming from? It's just, it's almost, it's weird. It's almost like there's regular society, and then you go backstage and you're like, okay, this is how it should be. So
Yeah. Yeah,
now,
no, it definitely, I wish more of the world kind of took the same stance as the wrestling atmosphere because of how positive it is. It's just, it's great.
I mean, it's so good for you. I mean, and it's had its problems. I'm not saying it hasn't, but to when you're young and trying to figure stuff out, or when you're old and you're always trying to figure stuff out, it's such a supportive place to be. Now, we did wrestling travel. Here's the plug for wrestling travel, Lexi, so you don't have to answer any questions here. Now, we bring fans from all over the world to wrestling events. The last one that we were able to do was Wrestle Kingdom 14 in Tokyo. So fans will sign up with us, and they'll get their event tickets, their hotel, their flights, all in one. We have you put down a down payment, and then we spread the payments out throughout the year, so it's not taking all of your money all at once. But we were all set for WrestleMania. We were the sponsors for the WrestleMania pub crawl, with all the proceeds going towards Connor's cure for pediatric cancer. And
oh, wow.
we were so excited to do that. And then everything started getting canceled. And the people that did the pub crawl called me the Wednesday before. Now, WrestleMania was on a Saturday. We want to do a virtual pub crawl on Twitch. And the proceeds will go towards the Red Cross with the pandemic. And I'm going, dude, I'm all in. I'll help out. But my first question is like in my head, like, what is Twitch? How do you do a virtual pub crawl? How do you do any of this stuff? But my point is, wrestlers, we have our own community, but the entire wrestling fans, nobody comes together to support each other like that wrestling community, including the fans. We raised close to $3,500 in a weekend and got a ton of wrestlers to come in and do promotional spots. Like I don't think I slept from Wednesday night till I think I slept during WrestleMania, unfortunately, because I was like, but that wrestling community comes together. And yes, there are some bad people. There are some fans who take it a little too far, but for the most part, it's just like society. We got extreme this way, and a lot of us are right down the middle. But I think nobody supports anybody the way wrestling fans and wrestlers support each other. Why did I just go on that little PSA just to try to get my plug in for wrestling travel? But I'm glad that you've seen it the same, because we had over in the UK, and I want to keep this positive, and in the US, the speaking out movement came out, and it got me, like we used to say, and I'm going to age myself because I started in 1997. And even before that, the phrase was protect the business. And what we meant by that was, hey, it's like Harry Houdini. We're doing a show up here. I don't want to give away all my trade secrets. I want to protect the business. But I've gone on record since the speaking out. I'm like, we've got to protect the business from those people that are, hey, I'm going to backyard train, or I'm going to start because right now I could start my own promotion tomorrow here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I just buy a ring and I'm a promoter, and then I could treat people like dirt. I'm so glad that you and your boyfriend have had such a positive experience early on. And now I say, that's why I went that rant. I use protect the business as you and I and the fans, we need to protect the business from these people that have been kind of brought out into the spotlight. And a lot of them haven't yet. So when you're training at with Lodi, are you the only girl there? Are there a few other girls, or are you?
I am. So I am the only girl at Lodi school. I do train with another guy. His name's James Johnson, and he has a couple girls that train with him. So I can kind of get a variety and kind of get used to training with girls, because for the most part, I have been training with guys since the very beginning. I've been most of the time the only one there. sometimes the only one at shows. I have done many intergender matches just because they don't have girls. There aren't like a whole lot of girls in the area. And so I've been in a good many intergender matches because they want me on the card, but they don't have girls to wrestle me. So I've came up mainly with guys.
So what's that like then? Because I wouldn't understand. What's it like then when you go to a show and you're like, okay, there's another girl in the locker room? Is that like super exciting for you?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I kind of get a little giddy whenever there's another girl in there because a lot of the shows that I've been at don't even have like a women's locker room. So I've had to change in the bathrooms and stuff. So I'm always super excited to have like another girl there to kind of conversate with that's not just talking about the guy stuff and everything. But I have become per se one of the boys with my group. I'm one of the only girls in the group, but we've all come really close, and they consider me one of the boys at this point. So it's pretty cool to have the friendships that I have through it.
The fact that, I mean, we've now accepted like intergender wrestling, and you guys, the women, are kicking ass just as much as the guys. And usually when I have a female guest on here, I always like to point out, like, one of my first female guests were the Blossom twins out of TNA. Great girls. But I started talking about, we grew up in the Attitude Era. It was like the bra and panties type thing. And then I just said, man, how awesome is it? Because that's how we got to understand that now the women are kicking ass. And it kind of started in TNA because I remember switching over to TNA in like the early 2000s and going, okay, these women are putting on much better matches than the guys. Like, I'm enjoying it, the storylines and stuff. So, I mean, it's got to be because we are still in this. I know we had the women's revolution, but I feel like we're still in it. We got women kicking ass all over in our sport. That was awesome.
There's definitely a whole lot of great women talent out there, and we've definitely taken over the industry more than back when it was just bra and panty matches. I mean, this is like legitimate, like, these girls can go. So it's definitely cool to see all of that happening while I'm working my way up in the business and stuff. It's really empowering.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be better. I mean, not to harp on it, but it's got to be better than you. Like, okay, I'm going to go use the skills that I've been training on versus back in the day when these women were still working. It's like, oh, you're in a bra and panty match, and you got to be like, oh, geez. But do you have a very young career?
Yes.
But can you give me, and this is always hard, and you can pick more than one, and don't worry about leaving anybody out because you're gonna leave people out just because it's hard to think fast. But do you have like a bucket list? Is there a few women that you're like, hey, I'd love to, before this is all said and done, I want to get in the ring with so and so?
Yes, definitely. I have always been a huge fan of what Becky Lynch is doing at the moment. I would love to get in the ring with her. Oh gosh, this is a very hard question. Wow.
I can help you out.
My mind's like going blank here.
That's the bad thing, because usually it's like people will go, okay, I can pick like Hulk Hogan, Randy Orton, and I can't think. And then you're like, shoot, there's a guy across the state I'd like to mix it up with, or a girl. But I'm going to help you out. For the first time ever in February, you are going to mix it up with Dream Girl Ellie. How do you feel about that? How awesome is that?
Oh, I'm so excited for this. She's great talent. I'm super excited to get in the ring with her. I've seen a lot of her work, and I'm nervous, but at the same time, like, I'm going to be nervous. But I'm super excited about it. It's going to be great.
And it's going to be a Wrestling Travel. We're very proud to be a part of that and sponsor it. We'll have graphics inserted in here in the magic of editing, but that's going to be happening in February. First time ever. The card is a bunch of first time ever matchups. You will not have seen these matchups before. And Dream Girl Ellie, I think, out of Florida. Am I correct?
Yes.
And she was just recently has been appearing on AEW Dark.
Oh yeah.
What a tremendous opportunity for you to mix it up.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead. I'm cutting you off.
I just wanted to say I was super excited about it. I think it's going to be a good time.
Then how did you kind of sign up for the event and then you found out that okay, Ellie's coming on, or was Ellie there first and you're like, yeah, I'll take her on? How does this come about?
So Franco Varga has become pretty good mentor for me. He's been kind of taking me under his wing and kind of helping me along with everything because I am so new. So he came up to me one day and he was like, hey, I would like for you to be on this show. You'll be wrestling Dream Girl Ellie. And I was just kind of like taken aback for a moment. I was like, wow, like this is happening. Like this is something that's going to happen. So it just it threw me off guard, but I've been super excited for it ever since. And Franco has been super supportive of me, and he's been getting me out there more, and I'm super appreciative for it.
Yeah, Franco Varga, great guy.
He is a great guy.
A lot I always try to do a lot for everybody, but there's Franco out there doing a lot for the business. Dream Girl Ellie versus Real Deal Lexi Steel. So I gotta ask, because this is gonna be my first time seeing you. I know I probably should have gone on YouTube and done my journalistic integrity, but I gotta ask you, if I'm in the crowd that night or if I'm watching Untitled Match Network, who am I? Who's the one that's gonna be like, yeah, I'm cheering for that girl? Or who's the one that, who's the heel? Who's the heel that's gonna make me as Real Deal Lexi Steel? Is she as nice as you're coming across now, or?
She is.
Okay.
Super nice, super sweet hometown girl. Everybody loves a small hometown girl, so here I am.
But, very egotistical to call yourself the dream girl, I imagine. So.
Oh yeah.
That'll be something we're really looking forward to. When was the last time you were in the ring in a match?
Actually, last Sunday. Yeah, I was at School of Morton. I was in a bunkhouse brawl type thing. It was super fun. There were a lot of people in the ring, but it was a good time.
Damn, I feel stupid. I kind of thought Ricky had kind of shut her down for a little bit, but you guys got back out and live streaming, huh?
Yeah, so this was the first show since I believe the end of November, early December. That was actually the first show back. So we're back up and running up there again.
That's awesome. Now, does Chris Phoenix wrestle School of Morton as well?
He does. He is actually a belt holder at the moment.
I gotta see.
He has won the belt up there, and I believe it's the X Division belt. He's doing some pretty big things up there at the moment, so I'm super proud of him.
Awesome. Now, is this is a question that could get me in trouble because I don't want to. Is Chris Phoenix on the First Time Ever card as well?
Yes, he is. He is on the dark match before.
Okay, because you might not be able to say too much. That's why we can edit stuff out. So we're super excited for you. We appreciate you coming on, and I really hope that this is not the last interview that we can do with you, because I feel like we got a lot of great things, but I feel like once everything calms down and you got some matches under your belt, now we're gonna. I always like to get the first interview out of the way because we got the history, backstory, and then the next time we talk, we got some road stories and here's what's going on. But before I let you go, I'm hoping that you can put in a good word with Chris Phoenix, and hopefully we can get him on the lockdown sessions, the podcast and stuff. I know you guys are very busy, but the most important question I ask everybody is, everybody's watched this now, how can I follow the Real Deal Lexi Steel? Do you have socials? Do you have merch? Obviously, you're going to be on the First Time Ever on Title Match. You're on School of Martin. I'll stop plugging you and let you do it yourself.
So I do have a Facebook and a Twitter. My Twitter is at Real Deal _Steel. And then my Facebook is under Lexi Steel. And then I do have merch on the way. I'm getting some shirts made at the moment. And I sell 8x10s and stuff like that. So I sell them. I will be selling them at shows. And then if you like DM me over Twitter and Facebook, I can send them out that way as well. So yeah.
That's
got some things in the work here.
Good. And I'm just guessing, but you're fairly new to Twitter, am I right?
I am. I was told with the UK followers that I needed to expand my Twitter horizons. I am not very well versed in Twitter, so I'm very new to it, but I have made a Twitter and it is up and running, so.
We are excited. You got Wrestling Travel, you got a couple followers from us, so we're excited. So don't hang up the Zoom yet as we end this. So I want to say thank you very much. We cannot wait to get this out, and I cannot wait for, I believe it's February 28th. Franco will be mad at me if I got the date wrong. But we can't wait to watch the First Time Ever, and with the biggest wrestler ever, Franco Varga. We can say it now. You exclusively let us go on the podcast. Let us know that Franco is going to wrestle Impact legend Suicide. So I mean, I can't imagine what's going through your head. You got the First Time Ever with Dream Gorelli, and then you get to see a whole night of First Time Ever matches. So we are looking forward to it. So thank you very much, Lexi.
Thank you for having me on here. I had a great time. I would love to come back if you'll have me at some point. But yeah, I had a great time. Thank you.
100% will have you back.